So I just wanted to quickly add to this video because maybe I don't know how it is with the world right now. I don't know the exact, you can say statistics or whatever it is, but I feel like when it comes to astrology, hmm, it's sort of because it gets confusing and when you look at all these things and these parts and when it goes into something very specific. As humans, we kind of get, to be honest, not judgment, it's not out of judgment, but we get kind of lazy. When it go, we don't want to go too much into details. It's kind of like looking into music, like classical music, and seeing like, oh, all these complications and all this stuff. Like, well, I don't know what it is, but anyways, but something that came to just come to mind before, where I thought I would state it because I felt like there was this need to kind of emphasize that when it comes to astrology, it's like it's been around for thousands of years. I mean, we're talking at least 3,000. I mean, that's like nothing compared to infinity, right? But it's been around for such a long time on the human level that sometimes we wonder, it's like, how do we know about these things? How do we help ourselves? What are the tools we need? Well, actually, to be personally, to me, astrology provides so much detail, especially, well, I'm biased about this, when it comes to asteroids, working with asteroids. But the main point I'm trying to make here is, do we need astrology? Yes and no. It's really up to you. It's kind of a tool you want to use, right? If you want to get into it, if you want to go, if you have the discipline, if you, most importantly, if you find it resonates with you. Okay. I'll add a link after this video to show you, look up my video on the one that says if astrology is meant for you or if astrology is for you. I'll link that at the end of this video. Um, so go ahead and watch that one. Um, but the way I see it is that if let's just say if I were, I guess, head of a state or something like that, I would definitely promote astrology. As to whether we need it or not, I would say mm, it's personal choice. But again, it depends on if you resonate with it or if it's for you. Um, but I feel that astrology will, the only time astrology will never be needed anymore, or rather, when it will no longer be needed, is when souls, all souls, however you put it, however it goes about, it could be like if you're an actual soul or something that's not really a soul. All things, all forms of energy has come back to source, or rather, there's nothing, period. It's just blank space. That's the only time astrology would work because there's nothing. There's nothing, no journey to foresee. There's nothing to measure. There's nothing to rely on. In fact, that also includes the planets themselves. If everything was completely, not to sound morbid or morose, if everything in the universe, literally in all the universes, was like completely just like that, then we wouldn't have astrology. I know that's kind of funny, but a little morose, yeah. But yeah, that's how I see it. So I just wanted to add that, it's kind of an important thing that I find for me, and it's given me a lot of detail in my life and given me a lot of like, now I get it. It totally makes sense. It's in the charts. I always say it's in the charts, it's in the charts, it's in the charts. I rely so much on the charts that it's like even certain questions like, should I get glasses? I trust those charts because it's come to me time and time again. There's this video I made. I'll give you a perfect example. I don't have evidence for this one, but if you feel my energy and you see that what's coming from me is right now, as I see this story, is for me, this was one of the ways that astrology kind of added to my already internal and inner sort of like intrinsic belief in it. If you call it belief, I mean, still, yeah, I believe is when I think it was 2 years ago. I don't know. And there was construction happening here on the front side of the house. And what happened was I was doing my own thing. I was studying and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, so I ordered some stuff, but I was like, oh crap, that's right. How will they get through if there's construction? What if I need deliveries coming through? And there was a roadblock. There was like construction going on, so they blocked the road so cars couldn't park there. If someone's delivering something, even if it's UPS, they couldn't park and drop off the delivery. So I was just wondering, what's going on here? So what was the main issue? So I was like, okay, the main concern, not issue, was just like, okay, there's a roadblock. Then I remember I felt this calling, this thing to like, look up roadblocks in your based on my research. That this time I was already doing my research on asteroids. And the first thing that came to me was Cerberus. Literally Cerberus. And I actually looked up other stuff too. But one thing that stood out was Cerberus. And it was this thing where I think it was so communication. So, okay. This was home. So I had to look into the fourth house. And then what was it? I should give you a visual, but if you could just imagine just the fourth house, I had Mercury there, right? I have Mercury and Uranus there, but Mercury is the main thing about deliveries, messages, transmission of information or packages or something like that. It's tied to deliveries. And so what happened was, or roads itself, Mercury is also, that's the main part. Mercury is road. Then when I looked up Cerberus, it was actually transiting opposite of that in my 10th house. So fourth house, 10th house, they're opposite of each other. Um, and surprisingly, um, I guess you can say surprisingly, sorry, Cerberus was actually opposite of my Mercury. And then I think it was, I have 19 degrees, my Mercury's in my birth chart is 19 degrees Scorpio in the fourth house. And then Cerberus was about, I believe, 20 something degrees. So I kind of had to wonder, okay, how long will this last? Okay, so I see that there's this opposition, right? It's an oppositional aspect. So, for those who don't know, aspects is just a way bodies in astrology or planets or whatever, what have you, or mathematical points like part of fortune or the north nodes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, how they're opposite to each other. And usually that includes integration, acceptance, right? That's part of also shadow work. Anyways, Cerberus was like opposite of Mercury, my natal Mercury. So it was a transiting Cerberus. Cerberus in this case was in Taurus. And Taurus usually means also roadblock, like buildings, like construction. There you go. So Cerberus was in Taurus, and it's in my 10th house. And the 10th house often refers to the public. So it's a perfect match. It was like, okay, great. So now I knew that there was a roadblock. But there was another question I had in mind. It's like, okay, I had that question of, okay, there's a roadblock. Okay, yeah, great. There's proof. And then I was like wondering, how long will this last? So I looked it up and I looked at what's called the ephemeris. Ephemeris is it's like a book where all the transits are happening at specific times. Like literally it's all detailed. So ephemeris. Um you don't need to know that right now. That's okay. It's a little confusing. But if you do try, comment down below and ask, how do I search this up? That's fine. I'll help you out if you need to, or I'll message or make a video about it. Okay. So, but right now, so it was transiting, and I looked up the ephemeris, and I went, okay, so I looked up the ephemeris for Cerberus. I saw that I needed to wait until ephemeris was done transiting about 8 degrees orb. So let's say Mercury is right here. Cerberus is right here, but Cerberus was already at past 21 degrees, I believe, and then something like that. And I had to make sure that I wanted to make sure that the transit was away from 8 degrees orb to the 19 degrees of my natal Mercury. The reason it's it needed to be 8 degrees past that is because it needed to be done its oppositional aspect to my Mercury, if that makes sense. Right. So 8 degree orb means that when I say 8 degree orb, it means it's away from it. So if you have 19 degrees here, 19 degrees here, that's a perfect aspect. It's called a perfect aspect, or is it something else? But anyways, I call it I believe I learned it as perfect aspect. Once it goes further away from that, the orb changes. So if it's 19 degrees Mercury and the transit is 20, there's a 1 degree orb. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So as you go further away from that, I needed Cerberus to be at least 27 degrees Taurus. And I looked it up. And when I looked it up, I was like, okay, so that's about 2 weeks or so, one between 1 or 2 weeks or something like that. And I was like, that's interesting. Okay. Cerberus must be moving fast. I don't know. I feel like Cerberus moves fast as an asteroid. Anyways, but here's the funny part. I decided to call the city and I asked them, so there's construction going on by my street over here. And I'm just like, do you know how long they will take? Because I feel like I can't get deliveries in. So I called them and they said, okay, let me estimate. They told me, okay, so I waited in line. I was like, okay, I was put on hold. And they got back to me. It's like, oh, it's between about maybe 2 weeks. And it's like, really? Okay, that's exactly what I discovered. I'm just like, there's no way this is not coincidence, right? I was like, the final fun part was after actually it was less than 2 weeks, they disappeared. They just went, they just disappeared. I mean, they left. And I was like, it wasn't exactly approximate per date like what it was, but it was like, oh my God, just amazing. Like it was like prediction. This is prediction technically, but not really. Right. So, anyways, so you know that what if you look at videos on timelessness, how time doesn't actually exist in a separate in a linear perspective. It's just our own perspective of linear time because of the bodies that we have, this concept of birth, death, and rebirth, and all that stuff we have. But that's why there is birth, death, and rebirth in the first place. Um, so this one was evidential for me, and it was just right. So, anyways, I just thought I'd put that in there and say that this is one of the things why I continue to love astrology. I love it. Um, Even as an amateur, I call myself amateur. I get so much details too. I've done so many things too, like with it. Like you can talk about past life stuff, going to uh, past reversal progressions, predictions, you name it, like relationship stuff, health stuff, earth stuff, culture stuff, moving houses. There's so many things you can do with astrology. It's just so fun because you get into so much details. The fun part is when you yourself or the person you're reading for gets the same answer, like, whoa, really? The shock and surprise is what's fun about it. So, in terms of what I said earlier about how astrology will never, when will it? I didn't really ask the question. I didn't pose the question, but if it were to ever survive, ever, like, oh yeah, it'll be here for like as far as there's energy. So there you go. Anyways, I thought that was a fun video. I hope that it was insightful. If you have any questions, comments down below. Again, if you have any comments or things that you want to talk about, questions, ephemeris stuff, ephemeris related, or any other things, anything else, let me know. And please like and subscribe. I will see you later. Bye.